Alright, it's been a week and a half since we've been able to do anything. It's been snowing and icing, so it's been tough. So I can't remember exactly where we left off, but we figured we'd just show you before we start to put. We're getting ready to make the top of the bed, and once this is closed in, we won't be able to show you any of this. So I don't know if these are in the picture, but we got these latches at the front. They just hold it in place, and just to give you an idea of the construction as you see it pull out. You can kind of see the concept of the right angles that are holding the big drawer together. You can see the concept of the right angles that are holding the back and the walls up and holding it to the floor. Now I don't know if it shows in the video, but there's two little crossbar plates here that just join the two halves of the floor. And like I said, right now, I don't want to repeat myself, but like I said, right now this whole thing has not had one hole drilled in the van, and it's just being held in by the 4 D-ring bolts that are either side of the wheel hub. So this whole construction right now is just being held down and held in place by the 4 screws, the 4 original D-ring bolts that come as tie-down bolts on your van, and it's more than plenty. So, and this is the kitchenette. I don't know if we actually, is that in the picture? I don't know if we actually showed, but we came up with this little ingenious idea of these magnet things, just having these magnets that actually hold the cook or the barbecue in place plenty. We may put aluminum surface or some sort of surface just in case it gets hot, but I don't think it gets hot underneath. And again, you can see it's basically the same kind of construction. So right angle aluminum holding everything together strongly, right angle aluminum holding the upright panels to the floor, freestanding covers over the wheel arches. It's pretty rock solid. Now here we go, we're trying to cut the bed top. At this point we're going to make it 73¼ inches wide. That's the width for what we think is the maximum width we can cut the plywood to go across for the bed top. So we're doing that now. Alright, what you're looking at right now is one of the more difficult tasks that we seem to be having, and part of it is because my wife's a bit smaller and can't lift as well. But this piece of wood that's angled precariously on the above the bed area here, that's actually the first piece of the top of the bed. Now it was cut at 73¼ inches wide, which seemed to be perfect fit, and then we had to notch out 2 14½ inch long by 1¼ notch outs at the front, which we'll show you after. And what we're doing now is we're actually about to put some extra pieces of wood along the top edge of each of these uprights, with the view that that will be the wood that we screw down into through the bed. Now there's only 3/4 of a gap here, so we took our 3/4 wood and we ran it through a planer to get it more like between 3/4 and ½ inch, so that it has enough clearance so the sides of the drawer don't hit it. And we're going to have to run a bit more through. It's still a bit tight on this piece where the kitchenette doesn't come as high. It's not a problem at all, so I'm actually going to glue and screw that. We'll go down and replane 2 of the pieces for over here, and then we'll actually try and test fit the top of the bed. The bed's going to go in 2 halves, a full 48 inch piece towards the front, and then there'll be a 12-inch piece towards the back here. The total width for the bed is 60 inches, which is why we had to get 2 sheets of plywood to make the top of the bed. There's going to be plenty of leftover, but unfortunately that's just the way it is. We'll make a shelf or something out of the leftover plywood. We're probably only going to use about 1/3 of the 2nd sheet of plywood to make this bed. So that's where we're at right now. So we got this 1 by 3/4 that we've planed down a bit closer to ½ inch to go along the edge here. The reason we had to plane it down a little bit was to give clearance for the drawer, and we already glued 2 in on the cooker the cooker side of things, and we're about to get ready to glue these things in. But before we do that, I was a little bit worried about the single span across here, and even though we're using 3/4 plywood for the bed, I was still worried that that much span, and especially with me being a bit heavier person. I only weigh 30 kilos, but that's not bad, you know, but just in case I'm a bit heavier than that, we got these little C channels there from Home Depot, and it doesn't say the size on here. I think it's inch by inch, I think it is, or inch by ½ inch, but this little C channel here, and the idea is we're going to cut them to length, and we're going to put, they're almost perfect length as it is, we just got to cut 1 inch off the length of it, and we're going to put 3 of these across that span, and that'll just give extra support to make sure that over time the top of the plywood bed doesn't flex and bend. So what we'll do is, before we screw these in, we're going to notch them out in 3 places with the router. We're going to cut these C channels to the right length, and they'll just sit in there and give extra support on the bed.
Good.
I'm trying to find a drill bug. Alright, we made major progress. We've got the bed top screwed on. Just to summarise, right now we had to buy 2 sheets of plywood. Unfortunately, the second sheet's hardly going to have anything used out of it. Like, to finish this bed section off on the second sheet of plywood, we really only need a piece that's 55 inches long and 12 inches wide. And so essentially what the plan is right now, this is a full sheet of 48 inch in width by 73¼ That was the distance across the van that we could fit the tightest without being so tight that it might not fit, so 73¼ We've screwed it down with screws into these pieces of wood that we put either side of the upright. We're only going to, the reason it's only going to be 55 inches wide in this last section here is because there's no real way of getting your hands in that tiny area to the side, and it's good space not to waste. So we're actually going to put 2 little pop-up lids either side here and use that space on the at the back of the wheel hubs, the wheel arches, for storage. But it just means we're going to have to lift the mattress a little bit and have a little pop-up lid that, so we can reach down and use all that storage space, because it's a good foot by nearly 1.5 foot storage space. So that's where we're at right now. We're going to cut this second piece out of the plywood, screw it in, and then we'll start putting some finishing touches to the bed. Alright, so the bed top is in. You should be looking at this right hand corner at the rear here. We've got these 2 little pockets, and really there's not enough room for this to be the access to make full use of this space. So our plan, there's 1 each side, left and right of course. So our plan right now is to try and put some sort of cover here so that it'll contain whatever's in there, and then we'll have a little pop out lid up the top here that'll just kind of lift out. Obviously it'll be underneath the mattress, so we'll just be lifting the mattress a little bit to be accessing whatever might be hidden underneath those compartments. It'll probably be stuff that we don't use very often. There's also a bit of a tunnel under here which works for us, probably mostly accessible from the front because it goes all the way through, and it'll probably work for us for things like tent poles, tripods, and longer, smaller stuff that can just kind of sit above the wheel well but sit underneath the bed still. So the next steps we're about to do is test fit the mattress, then figure out these little corner pockets. We're also going to put a piece of poplar wood across the back here. A, it'll strengthen this edge, and B, it'll act as a stop for the mattress to slide back or forward, and we'll be doing the same at the front. We're putting a 3-inch poplar piece that'll go right along the edge here, and that'll kind of contain the mattress in its spot. Right now there's about 3 inches gap from the edge of this bed to the back of the door, so there's plenty of room. And the bed is 60 inches wide, which is that trucker's queen bed size, and it's 73.5 inches long ways. Now the mattress is, I think, 75 inches, so it's going to be a squeeze, but we don't see any problem. We also cut the original plastic piece that went all the way down the beam, because now it just stops flush with the top of the bed, so it looks a bit nicer, and that way we don't have any holes going down into the bodywork for things to fall into. And it's the same underneath. All those little holes have been covered up with various wood panels. Alright, so we're here on a winter, cold, windy day. Nothing like stuff to keep us motivated. We just made these 4 right angle aluminum brackets, 6 holes in each, 3 per side. We're going to put number 8, I call them self tapping screws in Australia, but here they seem to call them sheet metal screws. They're Phillips head, they're stainless steel. They're 5/8 because we've got 3/4 plywood and we put a washer on it. We just want to make sure it doesn't go through the side. 3/4 is a bit too tight and it may just poke the tip through the side if you try to use 3/4. So number 8, 5/8 sheet metal screws, and stainless steel number 8 flat washers, and 3 holes per thing. And what I'm basically doing with any of these brackets I've made, I'm going 1.25 inches in from the ends, and then depending on the gap in the middle, I might have put in 2 or 3 or 4 holes depending on how long the bracket is. In this instance it's just 1.25 inches in, 1.25 inches in, and then right smack in the middle. And we're going to put these in here to support this part of the bed, because at times we'll be sitting on here, and I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to do this storage area yet. Am I just going to have a hanging rack with a basket? Am I going to put a door closer, a cabinet style cupboard? I'm not quite sure there yet, because it all depends on how we decide to do this part across here. So, well, it's Super Tuesday today, March 3rd. We haven't been able to work on the van for a couple of weeks due to winter weather. We've had some really nice weather right now, so we're trying to get to the point where we can throw the mattress in. 2 things since last video, or last segment, is we bought this straight hose here, this flexible hose, and we'll pull it out later and show you properly. But this is a flexible hose, and we're going to set up a magnetic little thing for our bottles, our 1 pound gas bottles. Right now we're in the process of putting this piece of poplar. I've custom cut it to be 3.5 inches wide, and the length of it across was 65 inches. And not that that's important, we just kind of went up towards where the 2 little side panels are. And the main purpose, there's 2 purposes that this board's gonna serve. A, it'll contain the mattress, so we're going to put one either side and the mattress will sit inside it. And B, it will also eventually serve as a way to have these latches that we got here. We'll have some sort of latching mechanism that'll come off here and latch onto the drawers when they're in the extended position, so that if you're parked on a hill or whatever, the drawer doesn't try to slide out or try to slide in. You can just latch it in the open position wherever you want it. So we're putting this aluminum strip on. We've put a little tiny aluminum, there's about a 3/4 inch down hang. It can't be too much because then the drawers wouldn't be able to pull out. And we've just put a little right angle aluminum strip underneath here with two screws on each side. And what that'll do is later on, when we're going to put this bigger, heavier aluminum right angle in here, it's going to sit hard up against in here. I just got to build the holes. And if we just relied on that right angle and didn't have something underneath, you could probably really lean on this or climb in, and you might snap away this piece. But by having a little support on both sides of the plywood, it really isn't going to be able to break away without you totally destroying the bed. Alright, major achievement in this little, what we'll call for now, we'll call it the bed module. Alright, we actually just put the mattress in, and I'll get the specs of the mattress. It's awesome. It's a memory foam mattress. It's I think it's a trucker's double bed or something. It's like 66 inches by 74 or 76. I can't remember, but I will get those specs. But it's a tight fit, but it fits perfectly. Now, just to give you a reference, you know, I'm a beautiful mermaid here, but I'm actually 6'2", which is more relevant to this conversation. I'm 6'2", and I can just lay straight, no problem. But it's going to be absolutely no problem for me and my wife to sleep this way, side by side. She was just in here a few minutes ago. So we're really moving along. We've got a little bit of work to do at the front, but this mattress is a perfect fit. It just squeezes in at the corners and just squeezes around the middle body frame. But apart from that, it's almost like it was made for this little bed module of ours. So here we go, we're moving along, the mattress is in.